A luminous, numinous guide to the dark, to a world where the windows are fogged with desire, a flash of the dagger, an interesting spark. Nothing can stop what is smooth or burns bright, unhindered by fat or by bone or by rash. It soars like a satellite over the heads of women whose bloom has dissolved into ash. And what of the book and the life of the mind and hair that hangs loose by the cup and the lamp and the scratch of a pen? That is for men. And you, my slim signet, are not of that camp. The other girls wait with their freckles and hands full of flowers and notes. Their voices are real, but their friendship is not. They will use you for blood. They will crumple you under their terrible wheel. Hold on to your weapons, the spike and the tooth. Go out there and slay them. The day will come soon when you stand on the roof and it dawns on you there. You are nothing, outshone by the unaging sun. I'd like to say thank you to the Tree series for inviting me, and thank you to all of you for coming. This is really fun and fabulous. I have a cold and my medicine's starting to wear off. So if I start to look like a crumpled dish towel progressively through the evening, you'll know why. Sudafed lied. I'm going to read now the title poem from this book here, Meeting the Tormentors in Safeway. I was bullied in school quite horribly. And I used to run into my bullies in public places, and I ran into one of my bullies in Safeway. And you know that feeling, you're in the frozen food aisle, and you know they say, "Oh, it's so great to see you. We should Facebook each other." It's like, I want to bludgeon you with this frozen cheesecake. Cow. By the way, if your name is Jennifer or Lynn or Catherine, don't take it personally. Meeting the tormentors in Safeway. They all had names like Jennifer or Lynn or Catherine. They all had bone blonde hair, that wet, flat cut with bangs. They pulled your chair from underneath you, shoved their small fists in your face. Too soon, you knew it would begin, those minkish teeth like shrapnel in the air, the Bacchic taunts, the Herculean dare, their soccer cleats against your porcine shin, that laugh which sounded like 100 birds escaping from a gunshot through the reeds. And now, you have to face it all again. The joyful, freckled faces lost for words in supermarkets as those red hands squeeze your own. "It's been so long," they say. Amen. No tormentors here. Margaret and the gang have been so wonderful. I'm so happy, and everyone's been so nice, and I hope you guys all have a lovely time, because I am. Speaking of lovely time, when I started dating my husband, who's from Eastern Europe, he was different from all the other guys I dated, because all the other guys were like, "Oh, please tell me everything about everyone you've ever been with, ever." And my husband said, "I don't want to know anything, no, la, 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 I don't want to know anything about your boyfriends, whatever." So I thought, okay, I'm going to honor that. And I wrote him a poem, and it's called Sexual History. Under my window, they stood with their hands waving tickets to Carmen and keys to the Porsche. They had cups full of sugar and cables to start up the car in the parking lot, matches and pens and the right time of day on the path in the park. They were gentle with animals, children, and plants, and used words like forever and always and now. When they vanished, their feet walked away with no sound, in the past, in the dark, under wraps, underground. Oh, the men before you, they were tow-haired and tall. Oh, the men before you, they were square and morose. They had bat wings for souls and racks of gray teeth and a family somewhere that I'd never meet. They had hundreds of poker chips stacked by the bed, and instead of declaring their love made them weak, they would give me commands through their suffering phones using words like don't know and unsure and not now, hanging up, leaving only the feeling of down. Oh, they did me a favor, the men before you, as they dug themselves deep in the past, underground. Anyone here been to The Hague? Aha. Have you been to Scheveningen Beach? Okay, very good. There's a beach outside of The Hague called Scheveningen, or the Dutch call it Scheveningen, but I'm going to probably damage the mic if I spray it with my biological fluids with this cold. And the beach, it's sort of like the poor man's Ibiza. You know, there are all these bars, you know, in discos along the water with these loungers. And when we were there, they had in the water, coming out of the water on a sign, a drowning warning. And the little plaque with the words had been removed. And the drowning warning was a triangular sign, and it was simply a hand coming out of the sea. Like, whoa, don't go there. And I thought, oh, that's so interesting and evocative and scary. And I'm a little scared of the water, so I thought, what a great topic for a poem. And so I wrote this poem called The Hand of Scheveningen. The strangest thing on Scheveningen Beach, the Netherlands' most popular resort, is not the shining mud sheet of the sand that never seems to end, the glut of bars, the walrus girls on loungers, or the roar of grey Atlantic waters as they blow a raspberry towards the English shore, but rather a perplexing ancient sign designed to warn the swimmers of the tides, triangular, its border painted red, no words at all. No, hey, the sea is rough, or currents may be strong, or take a boat. No, just an image of a panicked hand emerging from the crudely rendered waves. It proves itself effective as it draws a daily crowd of tourists and the like. They turn away from stalls of souvenirs, from tapas bars and lurching children's rides. They wander to the ocean's ragged edge to gather round the pole and take it in. It generates in each a certain fear. There are the ones who shudder at the thought of toddlers bumped from rowboats with an oar. A great percentage travel back in time to swimming tests in underheated pools. And there are those whose minds are etched with scenes from horror films, the reborn killer's fist erupting from the honeymooner's lake. I know there are among them even more. The woman with the waist-encircling brute she cannot turn her back on, or the man who Saturn-like in appetite devoured his weight in pizza when his children died. The gambler on a quest to save the house. The girl who can't surrender without porn. Who tilt their faces up to see the sign, the comfort of its never-changing sea, to see themselves in Scheveningen's hand and think, oh God, God, no, the sky, the sky, the sky. I just had my, well, 2008 actually, I had my 20th high school reunion. Lots of tormentors there, and my, like, it was a smorgasbord of tormentors actually. And my husband got me a camera. This is before I had my smarty pants phone, which I'm not smart enough to use really. But he got me an Olympus digital camera, and it came with a lovely manual in Japanese and some English. And I was amazed at the settings this camera had, like, this is the setting for flowers, this is the setting for mountains, this is the setting for shop windows, this is, you know, mountains behind shop windows, fireworks reflecting off shop windows, you know, for when you're holding flowers or whatever. And I thought, this is confusing. And this is a poem called Modern Camera. And it's also in that anthology there, Measure for Measure. It's in dactyls for all you meter nerds out there. This is the setting for when you're inside. This is the setting for candlelight. This is the setting for sunrise and sunsets. This is for portraits of people at night. This is the setting for servings of food. This is the setting for things under glass. This is the setting for files and documents. This is the setting for flowers and grass. This is the setting for watching explosions. This is the setting for watching the match. This is the setting to hold to the spy hole and watch children cry when you fastened the latch. This is the setting for trembling hands. This is the setting for earthquake and fire. This is the one for the tyrant in training. You cower below them and tilt the lens higher. This is the setting for rocks and hard places. This is the setting for blood and ablution. And this button here is the one that you press when shooting yourself is the only solution. I have a child, so there has to be mandatory, like, I love my child poem. Once when I was in Ottawa, it was, oh gosh, let's see, Gavra was 2008, same year as Scheveningen, and we were with our friends who live up there on Sunnyside Drive, and my son said, oh, my head hurts, ah! And he had an ear infection, so my husband said, okay, I take him to the hospital, and took him up to the hospital, and he was in the waiting room, or the walk-in clinic waiting room for something like 6 hours. And he came back and gave me a detailed report. And so I wrote this. It's called Ottawa Walk-in Clinic Waiting Room, 9 p.m. The girl at the desk lives in fear of the phone. The boy in the chair keeps his foot on a plant. An old lady mouths her novenas alone. I read our phone number out like a chant. The college kid barks in the crook of his arm. The bum takes his sock off to check the infection. A poster describes the contagion and harm of love under bridges without one's protection. While cold-hearted bulbs keep an eye on the room, eye on the gloom, our sun will not take his prescription of fear, but joyfully buzzes in loops round the room because he's been told there's a bug in his ear. I'm going to read one more piece from Meeting the Tormentors in Safeway, and then I'm going to read 3 little poems from my new book. Is that okay? Everyone's good? Oh, good. Thank goodness. We've all had... How many people here had a really bad influence growing up? But a really good bad influence? Good, good. I had... there was a vintage store in Vancouver where I grew up called Deluxe Junk, and there was a guy called Ken Spada, and I was parted from all my babysitting money as a teenage goth because of Ken Spada. And this is, he died of cancer, rest his soul, and this is called Eulogy for Ken Spada. Oh, and by the way, Charon, as I'm sure you know from mythology, rows the ferry across the river Styx to the underworld. Eulogy for Ken Spada. At 13, I met my first leather man. He ran the shop a stone's throw from the hole where I bought smokes. An ancient sable stole shell bangle, some weird peg pants from Japan, a Chinese tea dress crawling with Yulan in Vegas gold, all things picked out in droll conspiracy for me. How he'd extol the virtues of the A-line or the fan you never needed, push the leopard coat into my eager hands. A pair of eyes like that is dangerous and dear. I see him now in Charon's little boat. He shakes his palms and looking up he sighs. Those hooded robes, he says, are so last year. I have a new book coming out next year, a year from now, from Biblioasis. It's called Lost Property Hotline. And I have 3 poems. All of them appeared in The Walrus. So I'm going to leave you with those tonight. This one was written when we lived in the UK, and my husband and I got addicted to this very violent police show called Luther, which I probably shouldn't have watched because it gave me nightmares for weeks. This one's called Watching the Cop Show in Bed. Apparently, it's very, very bad to let a well-dressed man into your home. An Oxbridge accent coupled with the claim your husband's hurt and he's from Scotland Yard. Disaster! When the door clicks shut, he'll drag you off at knife point to his boat, exsanguinate your body, write some smut from Crowley on the walls, then eat your leg. He'll leave the rest of you inside a freezer to be discovered by some sad detective bellowing, "We made it here too late." Too late indeed. I used to feel wiser, more in charge, a little more creative. Now, like the rest, I watch the door and wait. Second new poem I'd like to read is called Margaret Rose. When I was growing up, everyone made a big hoo-ha about Queen Elizabeth. I always thought Princess Margaret was way more interesting. You know, she was chic, she was beautiful, she took her top off and hung out with all the Rolling Stones, and, you know, like, she did things that she wasn't really meant to do, but at the same time she was very beautiful and she had her own dignity, and it was a dignity that I think all of us who make mistakes can relate to, even if she didn't end up on as many teapots and stuff. Margaret Rose. The females of my family extolled the virtues of our queen, her cautious charm, the opera glove that sheathed the guiding arm, for this was ours, the Englishwoman's mould. But Margaret, the microscopic wasted, a man-trap by the age of 17, slid underneath us like a submarine, desired at, gasped at, but at last outlasted. Her sister's pleasing properness peered out from mugs and jugs and stamps. She had the crown. She never stooped to let the empire down. She never left the other sex in doubt. But Margaret, the ruined and rapacious, picked amongst the cricketers and rakes, topless, fogged, a fountain of mistakes, making cat food of the Windsor wishes. The E2 tank slides further into battle, waving stiffly from the Bentley's back, warning certain women not to crack, waiting for the rabble dust to settle. While Margaret, the taut and disappointed, has sunk like squandered change into the shoals, but in the murk her eyes glow, purple coals. To us, the normal, she is God's anointed. And thank you. Thank you. And lastly, one more. I always found villains much more interesting than heroes. Like, kind of the worse the better. I always thought, oh, he's so bad. And especially since I was a goth teenager. So, like, the worse they were, the better they were, right? And this is the last poem I'm going to leave you with tonight. You've definitely not been villains. Especially the Tree series, you've all been wonderful heroes. I'd like to say thank you. And this is the villains. And thank you also to Alice. It's such a delight and an honor to read with you. You're really not a villain. Totally. You're an anti-villain. Uber hero. Heroine. I always went for darkness as a girl. Those ashy Europeans wrapped in capes, the ranks of zombies browsing in the mall, the cabin-dwelling fan with swelling hopes, her novelist in reach. I don't know why I lean toward the viper in the mink, the tortured trader in the Charvet tie, lancet primed to disembowel the bank. Bad, so bad. A shudder more than human. When will we see their dreadful likes again? The drips who mapped the older starlet's ruin or herded virgins into wicker men. The hazmat-suited soldiers come for you. The pork pie preacher targeting the young for hidden money, crossing the bayou, white knuckles flashing, love and hate. How come? Could it be that daybreak lay ahead with sunny buses, clinking streams of coins, the people on their lunches nearly dead, waiting for their sandwiches in lines, that muttering backs were hovering in bars, that children were deciding what to leave, that cubicles had manacles and ears, and you, with nothing left to do but drive toward the setting sun, your rosebud home, the neighbors you can't fathom or forgive, then up the stairs to the crib in the back room containing something awful and alive. Thank you all very much. Thank you to Black Squirrel Books. Thank you for having me.